always stay in a state of constant upheaval. You know, things go wrong on a daily in government contracting. It just is what it is. My streaming service that decides it doesn't want to work. You know what? I switch. I switch to the other one. My internet wants to act flubby. I go set up somewhere else. You do what you have to do. You go live later. You do what you have to do. You constantly adjust. You're bidding on a contract and the government decides to pull it back and rebid it. You just move on and you move to the next opportunity. You move to the next bid. Because if you constantly stay in this state of what's going on, what am I going to do, you will never achieve. You will always stay in a state of constant flux. Now, I hit on something that I want to dive in. The government will put out an RFP and then do something they call rescind it. And they'll rescind an RFP because there isn't enough responses to it, enough interest in it. They can rescind an RFP for funding. They can rescind an RFP because they decided there's a new requirement they want to put in it. They can rescind an RFP because another department wants to use the same contract vehicle. So there are different ways and methods and reasons the government will pull back an RFP. So if you're coming into government contracting believing that everything is static and stoic and that there's never a time that an RFP will be rescinded, mm-mm. You know what? I hate Facebook's update. This this pin requirement they stuck on the chat feature is just ridiculous. Anyway, um but I wanted to talk to you about something that the president was doing. And because I had to switch screens and I lost my file. But there's a lot of things going on because there is a new training vehicle that's coming out that's utilizing a combination of traditional training and AI that's being released in Virginia. Now, if you're a trainer, this is an key opportunity for you, especially if you're trying to implement AI into your systems. They haven't released the RFP yet. They have announced the intentions to release, and this is something else y'all need to do. You need to pay attention to the announcements around budgets because that tells you what the contracts coming out are. Now, I've said this before and I'm going to keep saying it. Paying attention to the announcements, paying attention to, excuse me for being ghetto and eating, but it is what it is. Paying attention to the acquisitions, paying attention to all of that stuff tells you what the contract's going to be. This training initiative that's coming out in the state of Virginia, and because it's including federal funds, a similar contract is going to appear on the federal level. I didn't say the same, I said a similar. So if you're in contracting and you only want to work on the state level, and you say, okay, I don't want to work in the state of Virginia, you should look for a similar contracting effort to appear in other states. Because there's this whole initiative around training in the police, especially in light of the upcoming election and some other changes that were made. That's why I wanted to find and talk about the presidential announcement. I'm gonna find it and talk about it Monday. You're going to see this type of stuff, and that money, including federal dollars. Okay, will you discuss some strategies for businesses in fourth quarter contracting? I'm reserving that for contracting a business week. Contracting a business week is the first week of Q4 of the government fiscal year. The first 2 days we're talking about business. Day 3, which is Wednesday, I'm talking about compliance. Day 4 and 5, I'm talking about low-hanging fruit season. And I'm talking about day 4, we'll talk about for new contractors. Day 5, I'm talking about seasoned contractors. Because if you're new in government contractors, you have to approach low-hanging fruit season differently than if you're seasoned. I'm not saying you can't use seasoned strategy. I'm saying that you may not get the results that you want. And a lot of companies come in hearing low hanging fruit. And I'm going to say this, anybody who's excessively talking low hanging fruit without quantifying it or qualifying it and letting you know that low hanging fruit for you looks different than it does for somebody who's been in the game a long time, you need to talk about that. That's why I'm encouraging people to go VIP. Um, you really need to go VIP. And even the master class I'm doing that Saturday will give you some underpinning for everything we're talking about throughout the week. And somebody's going to say, but I'm not a government contractor. Why would I go VIP? The master class will touch on things that apply to all businesses. People forget government contractors are businesses. So whether you are in government contracting or not, everything I teach strategically will apply to your business. Hello. So at the bare minimum, sign up to be in the free session. And then the government is your largest client that you will ever work with. I don't know why TikTok censored your comment initially, so I had to go back and approve it. The government is the largest client you will ever have. Now, I understand everybody doesn't want to obey the rules and regulations that come with government contracting. That's cool. That is also why I did that podcast episode, The 3 Types of Contractors. Because there are 3 different types. And depending upon what type you are, whether or not, what type of, now everybody has to apply by the rules, but how deep you have to go. Because if you're trying to be a contracting business, I mean, that's your bread and butter and that's all you're doing, and all you're going to do is government contracting, 90% of your business is government contracting, then you need to do that's just a whole nother level of implementation. If you were an established business who just wants to add government contracting as an additional additional stream of revenue, then you can outsource my company for some of this work and just perform the work. There's things you can do that ebb and flow and streamline things. If you just want to do onesie twosie contracts, that's fine. You still have to obey the rules. You still need to know the rules. Um, but I wouldn't advise you to go over the top, whole hog, full blown, multi level accounting system. It depends on which type of contractor you're trying to be. You just need to ensure that if you're trying to be a how did I call it, a novel contractor or a novice contractor, that you accumulate the costs, you can identify them, separate them, segregate them, and you can prepare for audit and keep going. And I may do a follow up episode where I really just hone in on that and take it to an umpteenth level. I'm thinking about doing that. I don't know. I might turn that into a master class, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that as a roundtable for July. The three types of contractors. I think that'll be a roundtable discussion versus a TikTok live or something like that. That'll be a roundtable. So, but that's a good question. We're talking about low hanging fruit during contracting a business week, and everything during that week will lead you or assist you in taking advantage of the fourth quarter of the government fiscal year. So, anybody, that was a good question. Anybody have any other questions that you want to drop in the chat? And I'm streaming across multiple platforms, so you may not see the questions. I do. Okay. Now, but another thing that every government contractor needs to understand, and I touched on it when I talked about pricing, you need to ensure that whatever accounting system you're using accepts credit cards, accept credit cards payments. Some government agencies, and a lot of government agencies, do P card payments. P cards are just credit cards. It's simpler if your accounting system can process your credit cards, your credit card payments. The reconciliation is simpler than if you have to take the credit cards over here and then link it up over there. It's just simpler if you have an accounting system that automatically does it. It makes the reconciliation simpler. It makes it easier for your bookkeeper for the monthly reconciliation and your accountant for the year end. Notice I said bookkeeper and accountant. They're two different people. Because initially, I'm presuming that you don't have an accounting department. So you will need a bookkeeper to keep your books reconciled. And they're not for everybody. Your book should be reconciled every month. Your accountant should come in quarterly to ensure that your taxes are paid, because in government contracting, if your taxes aren't paid, you can't bid. Point blank, period, in discussion. You can't bid. And that's one of the things we talk about at the intensive, ensuring that all of your systems are right. Advanced contractors or larger contractors, when you hit the tripwire, if you're in my private Facebook group, when you go into the file section, there's a file there that talks about the tripwires. I checked, it's in there. When you hit certain milestones in government contracting, you trip certain requirements. Once you hit $75,000 in contracts, you become something called CAS covered, which is cost accounting standards. And once your CAS covered, you're required to have a disclosure statement. The disclosure statement tells the government how you conduct business. It tells the government how you conduct costs. It tells the government how your business is structured. That's very high level. That's what a disclosure statement does. That's why you need to be at my contractors intensive, because we talk about all this stuff. And I know somebody is saying, "Oh my God, this is a lot." Not really. It isn't a lot when you put in the work. Thank you for the following. I'm going to release a few videos on my company page. I keep stuff separate because it's just simpler for people. That's LTACG. Also follow that page. I know TikTok is weird. People don't follow all the pages, but just follow the company page as well. Um, I have a subscription service which includes a newsletter and subscriber only lives, which is only $9.99 a month. Do not use the TikTok link to subscribe. I have a separate link to subscribe. Because it's time for us, even like I said, even if you're not a government contractor or into government contracting, your business can support government contractors. Just like at my contractor intensive, the 2 days we're going to focus on strategy to get right for the start of the year, which is why I always have it in September. For those who are just getting started, there's a day 3, which is contractors intensive, is in September. I know I'm all over the place this morning, but the contractors intensive is in September, and it's something that I'm hosting every year. It's a Thursday and a Friday, and we prepare for the new fiscal year at the intensive. Now, for those who are like, I'm new to government contracting, I'm not even registered in SAM, you're going to have to invest for that third day, which is Wednesday. Because on that Wednesday, I walk through Sam's. And on that Wednesday, I actually have a notary on site who can notarize the document that needs to get mailed in. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, as a part of the Sam's registration, at the end, there's a document that you have to put on your company letterhead that has to be sent in, and that document has to be notarized. Now, I'm paying for the notary as a part of your registration. So the fact that you paid for to attend the intensive covers the cost of the notary. And I hold that every year. And somebody's going to say, well, why do I need to do it every year? Because you should look at your strategy yearly. There's no such thing as one and done strategy. I'm going to go here. And throughout the year, you should revisit your strategy. What is working? What isn't working? And adjust it accordingly. But that's what the contractor intensive is. I have it every year, every Saturday. Next year's is going to be a little different because I'm celebrating my company's anniversary. So there's a whole lot of add-ons for next year, but that's what the intensive is. So I'm gonna wrap up this morning's edition of Contracting Chatter. For now, Friday is Q&A Friday. I think I'm gonna do Q&A Friday until the end of June. And then that goes away. That'll become a subscriber only thing. Okay. I have some messages. I'll check my messages as soon as I close down the live. Take this weekend. I normally don't tell people to work on the weekends. However, you know what? You're right. Allowing trained eyes to look at your business is key. I did that. All of my chatter live recordings are on my YouTube channel. So if you missed any episodes, you can go there, LT&A Consulting Group, and just binge, pull out your contractor's notebook. And I refer to the contractor's notebook because that is actually a product that is releasing. I've developed the contractor's notebook, and what's so special about it? I'm getting ready to tell you. The contractor's notebook, I created a notebook for government contractors. It contains a calendar, of course. It contains a tracking sheet. It contains some keynote areas that I've noticed from doing discovery sessions that people miss when they attend the pre-bid meetings. And if you don't know what a pre-bid meeting, yeah, I just told you something else. So yes, so contractor's notebook is something I've developed. It will be out. I'm gonna work on this weekend, so it'll be out this Monday. Is the go live date for the contractor's notebook. So be on the look for that. Um, Last week and in this week, we talked about the stages of government contracting. That ebook is already available. It's only $5. I discussed it on live, but I actually went into details of not only what the stages are, but what your responsibilities are. Because you have a responsibility in each stage. So invest the $5 in stages of government contracting and learn what each stage is, what goes on during that stage, and what your responsibility is. Because you do have a responsibility at each junction during each stage. Because I don't know will cost you money. every time in business. So I'm going to end on that. Have an amazing weekend. And I will see you Monday morning for the next installment of Contracting Chatter. I'm your host, Luciana Turner. If you wish to schedule a time with me, my scheduling link is in the description, ltacg.as.me. You can go to my website, LT&A Consulting Group.com. And with that, have a good one, everyone.